What drives a caregiver to inflict harm on those they're meant to protect? In today's video, we unravel the complex psychology behind Munchausen by proxy, discover the emotional and psychological factors at play, the signs to watch for, the impact on the victims. Don't miss this deep dive into one of the most disturbing facets of human behavior. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Lindsay Unfiltered. And today we will be digging into the deep psychology of Munchausen by proxy. And we'll go even further to ask the question, did Dee Dee Blanchard have Munchausen by proxy? We will define Munchausen by proxy, and we will explore the psychology behind it and give other notable examples outside of Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee Blanchard's case. The purpose for this video is so that we all understand why Munchausen by proxy is important. The real life examples, the psychological effects on victims, and the true complexity of it all. Can we place the late Dee Dee Blanchard in that box? That is the question that this video aims to answer. If you like content like this that revolves around true crime, conspiracy, scandal, with a twist of humor, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I have an entire playlist of Gypsy Rose Blanchard content if you're into that. I'm reading text messages, looking at interrogations, looking at crime scene photos, and those are my most popular videos. I talk about scandalous topics from A to Z. Now, without further ado, let's explore the psychology behind Munchausen by proxy. First things first, we have to ask ourselves, what is Munchausen by proxy? Munchausen syndrome by proxy is a mental illness and a form of child abuse. The caretaker of a child, most often a mother, either makes up fake symptoms or causes real symptoms to make it look like the child is sick. What causes Munchausen by proxy? No one knows or is sure what causes Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Sometimes a person was abused as a child or has Munchausen syndrome, fake illness for themselves. And at this point in time, I want to take a moment to draw a parallel between Munchausen syndrome by proxy and hypochondria. Now, a hypochondriac is a person who takes everything about their current health situation and catastrophizes it. I myself have sometimes been labeled a hypochondriac because I might feel something that I've never felt before and I'm thinking the worst case scenario. So where do we draw the parallels between hypochondria and Munchausen syndrome by proxy? I want to know a little bit more about that from you guys. Now we have to talk about the signs of someone with Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just getting these from accredited sources on the internet, which I will tag in the description below. I'm not a doctor. I am not a mental health professional. I am just reading the information that I have obtained from online credible sources. The signs of Munchausen syndrome by proxy in a caretaker. Most people with this problem are mothers with small children. Some are adult children taking care of an older parent. The caretakers often work in healthcare and know a lot about medical care. They can describe the child's symptoms in great medical detail. They like to be very involved with the healthcare team and are liked by the staff for the care that they give the child. These caretakers are very involved with their children. They seem devoted to the child. This makes it hard for health professionals to see a diagnosis of Munchausen by proxy. That makes a lot of sense to me. How are we going to diagnose you with a form of medical child abuse if it seems like you are your child's #1 child's #1 fan. You're all devoted to seeing them get better. It's hard to diagnose that when you see the parent at every doctor's appointment, doing everything that they can for their child, for them to get better. Now, we have to be fair in the case of Dee Dee Blanchard. She did work in healthcare. She knew a lot about medical care. She could describe her child's symptoms in great detail. And she was very involved with the healthcare team. And she was liked by some of the staff, I assume, for always doting on Gypsy Rose. We have to be fair. And from this article, they also say they seem devoted to the child. Dee Dee Blanchard seemed devoted to Gypsy Rose. We have to be completely fair in reading that those signs sound a lot like Dee Dee. Now, could this have been coming from a concerned mother's perspective about an actual sick child? Sure. But let's just keep that into consideration. When we talk about Munchausen syndrome by proxy, medical professionals have, as of late, renamed it to factitious disorder imposed on another. I honestly believe they renamed it so people can understand exactly what they are talking about. Because when you hear Munchausen or you hear a different name, you might not really know what that means or what's going on. So I feel like the reason they renamed it because they gave it a more literal name. Factitious disorder imposed on another. You're putting a disease on another. You're putting a disorder on another. You're imposing an illness on another. Now, is that what Dee Dee Blanchard was doing? You guys tell me down below. The behavior of those with FDIA or Munchausen by proxy or factitious disorder imposed upon another are most often seen in mothers. Although it can happen with fathers who intentionally harm or describe non-existent symptoms in their children to get the attention given to the family of someone who is sick. A person with FDIA uses the many hospitalizations as a way to earn praise from others for their devotion to the child's care, often using the sick child as a means for developing a relationship with the doctor or healthcare provider. In my opinion, the people that have factitious disorder imposed upon another are looking for sympathy. But they aren't looking for sympathy, in my opinion, necessarily for their child. They're looking for sympathy for themselves. Look how much of a great mom I am. Look how much of a great caretaker I am. Look, woe is me. How much stress do I have on my shoulders to deal with this very, very sick child? It's not about the child as so much as I feel, I'm not a medical professional, but I feel it's about the parent being seen as a savior of sorts and just has all this on their shoulders. So woe is me type of feeling. Can we agree on that? And those with this disorder also seek to manipulate medical professionals. But personally, I feel like at a certain status, you as a medical professional should not be able to be manipulated. I mean, everybody can be manipulated, but you as a medical professional should be able to say, hey, I know what the results say. I know what I see. I know what I hear. I know what I feel. This doesn't seem right. And then again, we have to draw the parallel between hypochondria and Munchausen by proxy. Is a hypochondriac just putting their hypochondria on their child? Or are they truly just doing it to be seen as a savior of sorts? To be praised, to be worshipped, to get pity and handouts and attention that they never had in childhood. We have to think about those hard things. Now, when we talk about Munchausens, we think a lot about Gypsy Rose alone. Gypsy Rose isn't the only name tied to this disorder. There are other people tied to this disorder as well, and we're going to talk briefly, very briefly, about those people. One of the people tied to this disorder is a woman named Lacey Spears. Lacey Spears was a mother from New York who gained media attention from her son, Garrett. He had numerous health issues, and she would post about them on social media. With that being said, this attracted sympathy, this attracted attention. When it all came out, Lacey was found to be poisoning Garrett with large amounts of sodium, leading to his death in 2014. So all of these illnesses, all of these things she was representing on social media were a result of him being poisoned with sodium. In 2017, she was convicted with second-degree murder and is currently serving a lengthy prison sentence. So this case was one that raised some attention about Munchausen by proxy and how it could be deadly to its victims. Another case I want to speak on is a case of a woman named Alison McCulloch. Now, Alison McCulloch was a woman from the UK. She was a mother in the UK, and her actions came to light after her child's health issues started to look a bit suspicious. She intentionally made her daughter sick by administering harmful substances. Those harmful substances led to multiple hospital visits, multiple treatments. Investigators actually discovered this after numerous medical interventions. They said something's not right. This child keeps on coming back with this issue or this issue. There must be something more sinister going on here. That led to McCulloch facing legal charges for her actions and her conviction for child abuse. And this case also highlighted how dangerous it could be for a caregiver or a parent to create fictitious illnesses. So how do they diagnose Munchausen by proxy? It's actually very hard to diagnose, like I said earlier, because the parent presents as a good parent. The parent is a good manipulator. The parent is a good shyster. The parent wants to seem like a good person and a good reference when it comes to their child's health. So it may be hard to initially diagnose it. It's just very difficult to detect and diagnose because these caregivers have a way of manipulating the doctors, manipulating the medical professionals, and in manipulating the medical professionals, they actually cause a lot of cases to go undiagnosed. We're just thinking, this is a caring parent. Unless you have a doctor that has a sixth sense and kind of catches on to something, they generally want to believe that the parent has their child's best interest at heart. I'm pretty sure doctors want to believe that. So it's hard to diagnose because no one's going to diagnose themselves. No one's going to seek help, in my opinion, for this type of disorder. So we have to talk about the media. The media makes Munchausen by proxy, in my opinion, a huge sensation, right? It's the media's job to make every story a sensationalized event. And it's no different with Munchausen by proxy. There always are very dramatic narratives and highlighting the abuse and the crime and then punishment of the mother, as they should be. But I feel like the media plays a big role in how normal people, everyday people perceive certain events, and Munchausen by proxy is no different. When we saw it with Gypsy Rose, when we saw the interviews with Gypsy, right? When we saw the act, when we saw the media sensation, we were quick to say that is a shame. How dare her mother do this to her? Of course, what prudent person wouldn't, right? But if you peel back the pages a little bit and look deeper into their story, there may have been a few other factors at play than we initially anticipated. And that is a role that the media can play in kind of twisting a narrative. Since we're talking about the psychology of Munchausen by proxy, we have to talk about the psychological impact on victims. As I'd imagine, there'd be anxiety, depression, PTSD, codependency, because they've been with that parent through their whole life. How do they move? How do they go through this world alone without that caretaker, that adult reinforcing every one of their actions? That is a form of trauma. That is a form of abuse, because now you have to relearn how to move in society as an independent person. Subjects reported significant emotional and physical problems in childhood and problems in adulthood, including insecurity, reality testing issues, avoidance of medical treatment, and post-traumatic stress symptoms. Most of their siblings were also abused, physically or medically. Well, Gypsy Rose's mother didn't have any other children, so it's hard to see any type of comparison. If there was another sibling in the house, did the sibling have health issues and things of that nature? But there definitely was some mental illness there. But another influencer said she wasn't even here. How can you diagnose her if she's not even here to be diagnosed? That's a really good point to make. That's a really great point to make, and I definitely feel like I agree with that statement on Dee Dee Blanchard's behalf. And of course, another side effect or impact of Munchausen on the victims could be the physical harm, the losing their life. I heard of one woman who lost a leg, losing their life. You know, things of that nature. It can go way more than psychological damage. It can actually get to physical damage. Moving on past that, we have to talk about the treatment for the victims of Munchausen by proxy. Of course, you're going to look into therapeutic interventions when we're talking about therapy, psychiatry, group therapy, substance abuse therapy, whatever it may be. You're going to look into those options. But something I find suspicious as far as for Gypsy Rose's case goes in particular, because my channel has a high focus on her, I find it suspicious that there was a report, now tell me if this is true or not, that Gypsy Rose didn't undergo any therapy while in prison. And I feel like, why not? She should be in therapy right now. She should be in therapy twice a week. She should be in therapy every week. If she's alleging that she's gone through all of these things, why is she not in therapy? Just for the nature of her crime, why is she not in therapy? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. But she can do everything else. She can have boyfriend and husband going back and forth. I feel like therapy is a big thing. Psychiatry is a big thing. So my question to you guys is, why hasn't Gypsy Rose taken advantage of that? In conclusion, guys, we talked about what Munchausen by proxy is, how it presents itself, if it can be diagnosed, the impact on victims, and we gave you some other cases outside of Gypsy Rose and Dee Dee Blanchard. And I want your honest opinion. Don't feel like you have to say a certain answer. Do you think Dee Dee Blanchard suffered with Munchausen by proxy? From what I gave you, the definitions I gave you, the other examples that you saw, do you think she suffered with that illness? If so, why or why not? I wanted to do a deeper dive into Dee Dee Blanchard's backstory in life, but there's not a lot about her outside of she had Munchausen by proxy. So I said, let's do a video on Munchausen by proxy and then parallel that to Does she have it or not? Let's talk about it. I would love to hear your comments in the comment section. If you like content like this, make sure to subscribe. And I encourage you guys to be more educated about disorders like this and other disorders, anxiety, depression, PTSD, and don't be afraid to reach out for therapy and things of that nature. I don't understand why Gypsy Rose didn't take the 8 years of therapy they were offering her. Honestly, that is a rumor I heard. I don't know how true that is, but I feel like if something this severe allegedly happened to you and you have the option to talk to someone about it, why not take them up on that offer? That's all I have to say. Now, guys, I'm going to be uploading scandal videos. I really want you guys to check those out. I know you guys love the Gypsy content, but go check out my A to Z scandal playlist. We're going to be talking about Leah Remini and Scientology. We're going to be talking about the Menendez brothers. If there are any video ideas you want to see, put them down in the comments below. We'll run a poll and we'll get some videos that the audience wants to see. Any Gypsy related videos, let me know. Just give me video ideas and I will put them out there. And we've been covering a lot of different angles. They all are gonna make us think. And that is the goal at the end of the day. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. This has been Lindsay Unfiltered. Bye now.